This Walker Buehler deal has turned out to be a really unique one. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin. Over the weekend, we got all the information as to how the Walker Buehler deal actually shaped up, and there's a ton of really interesting pieces to this contract. So we're going to be breaking it down in today's video and what it could mean for the Red Sox offseason. We're also going to be talking about what's going on with the latest surrounding what the Red Sox next move could possibly be. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Okay, so obviously we're going to start by breaking down the Walker Buehler deal itself. Now, from my previous Buehler video, we all know that the actual total value of this contract is a one-year, $21.05 million deal. Now, I did get a lot of questions as to why add in that $0.5 million at the end of his contract, and honestly, I don't have a true answer for you guys, but my guess is that this perfectly matches what a qualifying offer would have been if he had been offered one from LA, and we know Walker Buehler wanted to bet on himself to try and get a long-term deal in 2026. So I'm guessing that's probably why this happens. Now, what we didn't know is exactly how that money was going to get into Walker Buehler's pocket. Well, we got our answer this weekend, and like I said, it's a really kind of unique contract for Buehler. It starts with a $3.05 million signing bonus. So the second Walker Buehler put pen to paper, which was, I believe, over this weekend when it became official, he made $3.05 million. His base salary for the 2025 season is going to be $15 million. So that's what he's going to get paid between basically spring training to whenever the end of the year is. Now, we might be sitting there saying, well, wait a second, Corbin, that math doesn't really add up. 15 million plus 3.05 million, that's only $18.05 million. Where's this other $3 million coming from? Well, this is where it gets really interesting because at the end of Walker Buehler's 2025 season, he has a mutual option with the Red Sox for the 2026 season valued at $25 million. So you might be sitting there saying, wait a second, there's an actual chance that Walker Buehler could be back with the Red Sox in 2026 on another one-year deal. The answer is probably not. Very rarely in Major League Baseball do we see these mutual options be picked up, usually because if the player wants his mutual option picked up, it means he didn't do well and the team's probably not too excited about him. If the team wants the mutual option picked up, well, then the player probably not super excited to come back on a one-year deal and is probably going to be looking for more money, which means it's not really a option per se. It's a perfect storm. Maybe he comes back in 26. More than likely, he's not coming back in 26. And because of this, there's a $3 million buyout included in this. So there's your $3 million right there. Basically, he's going to get $3 million now, $15 million for the season, and then $3 million at the end of the year once either one of those sides backs out of this deal. And I got to be honest with you, I don't really understand the point of doing all this stuff for Walker Buehler just to add him to the team, right? It's not like this is a crazy long-term deal for the Red Sox or crazy commitment money-wise for the Red Sox. It doesn't really make a ton of sense for me to sit there and really sort of nickel and dime this to the point where you're only giving them $15 million during the season. I don't really get what the difference is between 15 and 21 million, but that's just my opinion. I'm sure there is a legitimate reason why the Red Sox wanted to do this outside of just simply they wanted to spend as little money as humanly possible on the surface of this deal. For Walker, I guess I could understand it a little bit, right? You get a big chunk of cash right away, which is always fantastic, right? You still get all your money here, and you have sort of a fail-safe, right? I guess if all things go poorly, maybe the Red Sox take a chance on you in 26. If not, hey, you're going to get the full dollar value of your contract. So I guess it does make sense from the Walker Buehler side of things. Maybe he was the one, or I guess his agent was the one who was driving all these sort of different parts of this contract. If it is from the Red Sox perspective, it does, I don't know, for some reason make me a little bit worried about how they're approaching this offseason, right? At the end of the day, he's still getting $21 million. It's not like they found a way to not give him his money. It just feels kind of weird, right, that the Red Sox are trying to circumvent all the ways that you can do it. I don't know. It just rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. One thing that I think is super interesting about this contract, and one thing I do understand and do like about this contract, is he actually could end up making more than $21.05 million million in 2025, and that is due to some contract incentives that are built in here. Basically, between starts 20 and 28, Walker Buehler's going to make $500,000 every other start. So starting at 20, it's basically every even number start from 20 to 28, meaning he could potentially make an extra $2.5 million this season, pushing his deal from $21.05 to $23.55 million. Again, the five at the end of that's really bugging me. I don't know why. I guess it's just because it's not an even number, but I really like the incentive built in here. I think the Red Sox are taking on some risk with Walker Buehler, but at the same time too, there's already a lot of incentive for Buehler to have a really good season. He's betting on himself in the totality of this year. He believes that he's going to come out and prove once again that he could be a top line starting pitcher and that he can earn himself a really long-term lucrative deal in the 2026 season. For the Red Sox, that's always good news, right? You want your players playing as hard as they possibly can. Now you add in, hey, guess what? You stay healthy and you can get through a full big league season, making 28 starts, which would be a lot of innings for the Red Sox. You're also going to get some money on top of proving that you're worth a whole lot of money on free agency. So it's just sort of, in my opinion, an extra cherry on top here, where you get 20 starts and all of a sudden it's like, okay, I have to make sure I stay healthy for at least 8 more starts or I'm not going to make this money. It's a bit of a contingency plan for the Red Sox. It's a bit of an extra incentive for Walker Buehler, and it ends up bumping the total value of this contract up a couple of $1 million. So I really, really like that part of this deal. The overall structure, to me, it's not incredibly unique, right? We've seen a whole bunch, especially signing bonuses. We see a lot of in Major League Baseball or professional sports in general, just to try and get sort of the lump sum paid down a little bit, right? We see that all the time. And then the deferral payment, it's not really a deferral. It's just sort of a end of the year, hey, we're probably not going to match up on coming back. We'll give you the $3 million. Then I think is really interesting as well, as it's just simply another layer to this thing that just simply, I don't know, doesn't really feel necessary, but I do like the incentives built in here. I think it's just another way to really incentivize Walker Buehler to be the best possible pitcher he can be for 2025. A little bit beyond statistics, right? Because it doesn't really have anything to do with whether he has a 5 ERA or a 2 ERA, but just simply to stay healthy, which I think is going to be one of the most important factors to this Red Sox rotation. One other note here about Walker Buehler is the fact that he's going to be wearing number 0 for the Red Sox. That's also kind of unique. He's going to be just the third person ever to wear the number 0 in the Red Sox organization, so that's kind of cool. Plus, the number 0 on the back of a baseball jersey, in my opinion, just looks really, really clean. Nothing to really do with his performance or anything like that. Just a kind of fun tidbit. He was wearing 21 in LA, but for some reason, the Red Sox refused to give out the number 21 since Roger Clemens left, despite refusing to retire the number overall. I don't know what's going on with that. Just a weird, quirky Red Sox thing. Can't go 21, so we went number 0. So overall, kind of an interesting contract. I thought it was at least worth talking about with you guys because it's something we have not seen from the Red Sox this offseason. We also probably need to talk about what the latest goings on are with the Red Sox and free agency, and I don't think you guys are going to be too excited about it. As for where the Red Sox are with the rest of the free agents left on the market, it's been really quiet, and that should be absolutely terrifying because one thing that has become pretty loud and clear amongst Red Sox Nation based on reports is that despite the fact that Red Sox fans are in on Bregman, despite the fact that Red Sox management is in on Bregman, despite the fact that the Red Sox ownership is in on Bregman, it appears as though the Red Sox are on the outside looking in on the Bregman sweepstakes. Right now, it appears as though the Tigers are the far and away favorites to land Alex Bregman. There's mutual interest there. The Tigers, according to sources, are all in on Alex Bregman, whereas the Red Sox may have not even given him an offer yet. It sounds like the Mets are closer in on Alex Bregman than the Boston Red Sox are, and we're starting to see a little bit of a trend here pop up with these bats this offseason. They weren't incredibly close to Juan Soto. They weren't even remotely close to Teoscar Hernandez. It sounds like, based on reporting by Chris Cotillo, that they didn't even really want Teoscar Hernandez on the Red Sox for 2025, that there was some interest expressed at the beginning of the offseason, but it never really went further than that. The Red Sox were never really involved in the bidding for Teoscar Hernandez, despite what was predicted by many major analysts. Then you talk about the fact that they aren't really connected to Anthony Santander. We heard some some rumors that, hey, talking to Santander, well, it sounds like it's sort of the similar interest they had to Teoscar, where it was, okay, we're going to check in, we're going to see, we're going to do our due diligence, but we're not incredibly invested in bringing you to the Boston Red Sox. All of a sudden, there's a very real possibility that the Red Sox leave this offseason without a legitimate free agent bat. If they aren't in on Bregman, they lost out on Teoscar, and they don't really have a ton of interest in Santander, well, there's not really a ton of other legitimate impact options available. They aren't even remotely connected to Pete Alonso, so I'm not even going to bother bringing that one up. All of a sudden, right, you're looking at this offense and you're saying this could be it for 2025. Now, there is always the option that the Red Sox trade for Nolan Arenado. Honestly, at this point, I think it's becoming a more realistic option than the Red Sox going and buying one of these bats, which I really don't love, because what this means is that there's only two ways that this could work. Either one, Masataka Yoshida gets traded in this deal. I don't see that as a realistic possibility. It feels like the Red Sox have been pretty desperate to the point where they were willing to put Tristan Casas with Masataka Yoshida just to get someone to take his contract, and still hasn't been able to get it done. This contract right now feels essentially immovable for the Red Sox. So what do you do if you bring in Arenado and you don't have a spot at DH to put Rafael Devers? Well, the only other option is trading Tristan Casas. And to me, like we've talked about this entire offseason, trading Tristan Casas for 2-ish years of the back half of Nolan Arenado's career doesn't really feel like it is a very smart long-term baseball move, right? It feels like maybe in the short term, you're changing up the infield defense a little bit. It's getting a little bit better, but you have that giant question mark with Rafi at first. You get that right-handed bat in here that does have a ton of power potential. It makes your lineup, I think, a little bit better in the short term, but you're also losing Casas over the next 4 years in the prime of his career, as opposed to Arenado for 2 years in the back end of his career. To me, that trade-off just does not make sense, and it's absolutely terrifying. To be honest with you, I don't know if this is really the owners of this team being super cheap right now. I think this is more on Craig Breslow. We've heard pretty abundantly that the Red Sox ownership, specifically Sam Kennedy, wants to bring in Alex Bregman. They want this guy. Craig Breslow's the one who's sitting there with some trepidation, who's saying, I don't really know if I want to bring in Alex Bregman. And maybe he's right at the end of the day, but if it's in that 5 to 6 year range, I don't really see why Craig Breslow is so against Alex Bregman. The only possibility I could think of is the idea that he's extremely high on Christian Campbell and Vaughn Grissom, that he's sitting there saying those two guys are going to be head over heels better than Alex Bregman over the next couple of years, and we're going to rely on Grissom/Campbell and Roman Anthony to bring us to a truly legitimate force in the AL. And that's absolutely a possibility, but in my opinion, like we've talked about this entire offseason, those are some really big question marks, right? They have a really high ceiling, but they're also a complete unknown as to what their floor could end up looking like, if there is a floor at all. In my opinion, if you were going to try and be, like they've been trying to talk about this entire offseason, a legitimate competitor in the AL, you need to get rid of some of those questions regardless of how well they can work out, right? Grissom could come in here and be one of the 10 best second basemen in baseball next year, but he could also come in here, not stay healthy, and hit the way he hit for a majority of the year last year. If that happens, your offense gets significantly worse. Yes, the ceiling is high, but if you can get a constant in there and replace that question mark with something that you know what the floor is going to look like and what the ceiling is going to look like, you're removing one of those question marks. And if you're competing for a division, the less question marks you have, the better off you are going to be. And that's what's driving me crazy, at least on the surface, not looking like they're too interested in going for a bat. Even with Arenado, it sounds like the Red Sox are on the outside looking in. I simply can't believe that this is going to be the Red Sox total offseason. They need to do something else for their offense. They need to do something else for their bullpen. And right now, we just aren't hearing the Red Sox doing a whole lot of either. Hopefully that changes. There's still a ton of time in free agency. Maybe Alex Cora and Sam Kennedy can convince Craig Breslow that one of these moves is what's worth taking this risk for to make this team better. But at the end of the day, we just don't know right now because there's not a ton of information. So a lot of what we're getting is pretty negative stuff. It's just a wait and see game, and that's going to drive, I think, me and a lot of you guys absolutely crazy as well. But that's just my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below. What did you think about Walker Buehler's contract? Do you find it interesting? Do you find it weird? What do you think about the latest on free agency? What do you think about that? Because I can't expect it's going to be overwhelmingly positive. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just simply helps out a ton, and it's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Don't forget, if you guys do want to listen instead of watch these episodes, head over your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.